Let's now welcome Professor David Monyae, who's an Associate Professor of Political Science and International Relations at the University of Johannesburg, to further unpack this. So a very good afternoon to you, Professor. We really do appreciate your time. So what do you make of these reports about Zuma's name allegedly being mentioned in the Epstein files, so pertaining to what also is cited around his name?
Quite interesting development. However, it is not quite clear. I think the Epstein saga as it stands, it's all about the wrongdoings with young women. But on this specific case, there is not any specific pointing to a specific wrongdoing. And the focus is much more on the Epstein and the interesting nature of it. But what is not being asked, or what the public is not talking about, what was precisely the discussion? I think that is much more of interest to some of us. What was the nature of that dinner and what discussions were all about? Was it a private or it was part of a state visit to UK then?
Absolutely. Those are the answers we are also dying to know, Professor. But what is the potential impact of such news or reports, especially without any merits, as you've just referenced to? We saw the Bell Pottinger scandal and how that also played out. Then what is the global reputational risk as well, if any, in such instances, as we could compare it to the false narrative of the white genocide here in South Africa, Prof?
It's a negative picture, firstly, of the then former president, and of the country. One should and must not be associated with particularly this character. In other countries such as UK, other leaders are just resigning based on the fact that their names appear on the list. So this is an unfolding development and case, and the nature of wrongdoing, if there's any, should come out. But looking at the 3-day and the manner of the discussions based on the emails, it doesn't really appear as if it was something more juicy than what we're being told.
Well, I asked that, Professor, because even from the American people, they've largely questioned the credibility and authenticity of some of the files, as some files have relatively been reportedly manipulated. Even some of the pictures and reports, I'm sure you saw that one that was trending yesterday of purported babies being killed and stuffed inside chicken. It sounds crazy, but we don't actually know the extent that, people can go at such places.
Oh, indeed. And we're living in a very interesting time with technology. I think the ability of manipulating visuals, pictures, voices, it's quite high. But in this case, it's a very clear issue. It was a state visit, and therefore all activities of that visit should be right here in Pretoria. We really do not need to go to the US to find out. What was the nature of the diary of the president then? I mean, this is quite serious. I think the content of that meeting is quite important. Whether it was a secret meeting, a private meeting, an official meeting, there are categories that defines any meeting, particularly head of state.
I mean, what do you make of the fact that Trump himself, in fact, I'm sure you saw the clip preceding our interview, Prof, is actually there smiling with Mr. Epstein. And we've seen with the expose exposing quite a few of some global powers, including some princes and some politicians. So we're still going to hear quite a lot here. But to prove credibility on specifically around some of those names, especially with the information and or lack thereof that we need to actually connect the dots, it's going to be rather difficult, don't you think?
Well, indeed, and the timing, and it appears that they're dragging the entire thing. But President Trump has only 3 years left, and the manner in which this information is being released, who's controlling that, and what process, and as well as the law of the US. Is it done properly? It's so easy to manipulate. and ensure that the real matter will come out at the 11th hour when the man is out of power. So it's quite interesting.
Very interesting indeed, Prof. We appreciate your analysis there. We're going to leave it there. That is Professor David Monyae, International Relations Analyst, on the alleged emails mentioning former President Zuma in the Epstein files' latest releases.